What's up, Jets fans? Welcome to the latest edition of Jets Latest, where you get the latest on the Jets, Jets. I'm your host, the spitting statistician, Dane Martinez, and we continue to look ahead to the NFL Draft, which is now only a week away. All the teams are excited. All the teams are adding talent, and if you are a fan of any team, you gotta be ready for the draft, especially the Jets, because it's a critical draft for us, right? New head coach Aaron Glenn, new GM Darren Mojie, and a new kind of culture, a new opportunity. It feels good, I think, to be a Jet fan because I think the arrow is pointing up if you want to know the truth. But when you talk about the Jets, when you're talking about the draft, you always have to talk about the quarterback position, right? Everybody is talking about what could happen. Cam Ward going number 1 to Tennessee. Where will Shedeur Sanders go? Is Jackson Dart or Jalen Milroe flying up draft boards? And to be quite honest, the Jets are no exception. I mean, they have been connected at times to Shedeur Sanders. I think that's crazy. They have been connected to Jackson Dart. I think that's crazy. I think they have their quarterback in Justin Fields, and the idea is going to be to build around Justin Fields, not add competition for Justin Fields. However, that does not preclude the idea of maybe drafting a developmental kind of quarterback late, right? It's always good to have another young quarterback on the roster. It is only a 2-year deal right now for Justin Fields. So I want to talk about a couple of guys that may be targets, not with a top pick, okay? With our first 3 picks in the top 75, I think, as you know, we're getting an offensive lineman, we're getting a defensive lineman, we're getting a tight end to add to that room. But maybe later on, and there is a little buzz around this guy, Cam Miller from North Dakota, kind of Division 2. And you remember like Carson Wentz going from Division 2 North Dakota. This guy, Cam Miller, won the national title for North Dakota State at 2021 and in 2024. He is the career record holder for that school, who has a lot of big statistical kind of glory. Check this out: 11,998 passing yards, the best completion percentage at almost 70%, the most completions, the most yards, most total offense yards when you combine his rushing as well, and finished second in terms of touchdowns and attempts ever for that school. Now, he's not going to be a top prospect like Carson Wentz was, who went number 2 overall, but that's exactly the point. This may be a day 3 kind of pick for the Jets in rounds 5, 6, or 7 to add to the roster. Cam Miller out of North Dakota State is someone to kind of, keep an eye on, and if so, the other thing that I think this means is that Jordan Travis, the kid we drafted last year, or 2 years ago in the 5th round out of Florida State, remember he had the devastating knee injury. One of two things: either he is not completely healthy or he is not a fit for the Aaron Glenn culture. Remember, Jordan Travis and his agents had some things to say about the Jets and his rehab, so maybe that's not a perfect fit. And if the Jets do add a developmental quarterback, to me it means Jordan Travis is not the developmental quarterback. Here's another name to note. It's Tyler Shaw of Louisville. Okay, this is a guy 6'5", 219 pounds out of Louisville. He was named one of 3 comeback players of the year in college football last year. Okay, and here's the deal: he's actually played 6 or 7 years in college. Was at Oregon. Actually backed up Justin Herbert in Oregon, then was at Texas Tech, where he had 3 years of injury, then went over to Louisville. He's actually going to be 26 years old by the time the NFL season starts. I mean, threw for almost 3,200 yards at Louisville, 23 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. He's known to have kind of good vision, good eye discipline in the pocket. And to be quite honest, you better have good vision and eye discipline because you've kind of seen it all in 6 or 7 years in college, right? Splashy arm talent, the kind of guy who could also be drafted in the mid rounds and maybe be a developmental guy. The reason, though, I don't necessarily think this is he's 26 years old. All right, he's the same age as Trevor Lawrence. He was, he backed up Justin Herbert, for goodness sake. So it's a little bit different to have a developmental quarterback already in their mid-20s as opposed to a 20 or a 21-year-old. So and to be honest, Shaw is thought of as more of like a round 3 or 4 pick, whereas Cam Miller is thought of as more of a round, 5 or 6, a day 3 kind of guy. But guys to have on the radar in case the Jets do go ahead and draft a developmental quarterback late in the draft next weekend, right? So those are some names to keep an eye on, although I think it's Justin Fields, building around Justin Fields. One of the guys we also signed in free agency, besides Justin Fields, in the secondary a couple of weeks ago, was Brandon Stephens. All right, and I think Brandon Stephens is a very interesting pair with Sauce Gardner. And let me tell you some of the things that Stephens had to say on teaming with Sauce Gardner as a cornerback combo. He goes, I think it's going to be a hell of a combo. I'm excited for it. I think we're going to make each other better. I'll be able to learn from him. He'll be able to learn from me. The length is everything for a DB. Size is everything along with technique. But I think there's not many in this league that have our size, and I think that's to our advantage, whether that's in the passing game or the run game. We have interchangeable parts on this defense. That's what I think is really important, the kind of length that he is talking about. Brandon Stevens is 6'1", Sauce is 6'3", and that length is really important for a cornerback and something that Aaron Glenn knows about as a former cornerback himself, right? Sauce, you heard talking about this also when Brandon Stevens came on. He said he's going to make everybody better, that everybody that plays opposite him is going to get better, so it's a good move, and we're going to make each other better. Everybody's saying the right things. Here's what I also note. Aaron Glenn, when he was in Detroit, he played man coverage 60.7% of the time. That was the highest rate in the NFL. So I think that's another thing. He's going to want to play man when it comes here with the green and white. He knows Sauce can do it, and he brought in Stevens, I think, particularly to fill an exact need that he was talking about, and that is to go ahead and play man to bring more length to the position. So I kept an eye out on that, and I thought it was really interesting that he brought in another long cornerback to play man-to-man, which is probably going to be the way the Jets play it in the secondary. So I think that's all good news there from Brandon Stevens. You also talk about how Brandon Stevens was saying that he really was intrigued by Aaron Glenn, wanted to run through a wall for him. Again, building this culture. Speaking of culture, we are now a week away from the NFL draft, and there is still no word on Aaron Rodgers. And can you imagine if he was holding the Jets hostage like this? Like, I don't know if I'm going to come back. I don't know if I'm going to retire. And how that would kind of preclude us for really the energy, the culture, the youth, the competition, building around something, having a vision and a plan. If we still didn't know if Aaron Rodgers was coming back, I say good riddance, and thanks that we early in the kind of regime of Glenn and Moji told Aaron Rodgers, we're moving on from him, okay? He's gone to the beach, he's gone to the darkness, he's had meetings, he doesn't know, maybe he's holding out for Minnesota, maybe New Orleans is now an option with the Derek Carr injury. I'm just glad that we don't have to deal with it in the green and white. A lot of the mocks out there, for example, have the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 21, which is the team that Rodgers would be rumored to go with, drafting Jackson Dart at number 21. And maybe that's still what they would do if they had Aaron Rodgers or not, right? Because you need an answer after Aaron Rodgers moves away. But here's the other thing. Pittsburgh also, I think, they may need a running back. A lot of people are thinking that Jalen Warren and Kenneth Gainwell are not necessarily the end of the running back room. There's guys like Omarion Hampton. There's other things that the Pittsburgh Steelers may want to do as they build their draft board, entertain trade ideas, and they don't know yet if they are going to have Aaron Rodgers as their starting quarterback. Still, with only a week left to go before the NFL draft. All I'm saying is I am glad that we have moved on, that we have a new culture, and we are building definitively around Justin Fields. And I think this draft is going to be huge in order to do so with number 7, number 42, and number 73. You see where the odds have talked about, you see what the mocks have talked about, and they are all in line with what we say right here on Jets Latest, which is why you need to watch these videos. You need to like these videos, subscribe to the channel, and tell a Jets fan friend to tell a Jets fan friend, because we are on the money here in terms of what we are doing and telling you people on Jets Latest. And well, after a week from now, when we see what the Jets do, we'll see if we were right, we'll see if we were wrong, we'll reset the deck and talk about how we continue to move forward in the offseason. That'll do it for this episode of Jets Latest. And remember, if you want to hear more from me, I am the host of the FTN Fantasy Show over on Sirius XM Channel 87, the fantasy channel, where I talk more than Jets. We talk the NFL, fantasy football, Major League Baseball, fantasy baseball, the NBA playoffs. It doesn't matter. We are helping you win your leagues and win that cash. So check me out over there. Follow me on Twitter at X at Spittin' Speeds. You can always engage with me here in the comments as well. But if you are locked in for the green and white, Jets Latest is the place to be. And I will be back here tomorrow, finishing the week off with more thoughts on what we're going to do in this draft as we build the 2025 roster. That'll do it for this one. We'll see you later. We'll see you soon. I'm out of here. Peace.